Coming up next on the Conscious Courage podcast.
Even you have to have hope and you got to have faith. However, that is not a financial plan, right? You need guarantees, and I think we just been taught in this world that you have to invest. What you do, you have to invest and save, and so saving is like the crux of it. It's the foundation, right? And the way I teach my clients is, you build wealth, making sure that your foundation is set, and that's through properly structured whole life insurance. And I think, for me, that relieves a lot of the stress because it's guaranteed, right? And then anything I do is on top of it, whether it's investing in real estate, um you know or investing in a business, whatever that might be.
Good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Conscious Courage podcast, where we empower your mindset, refresh your spirit, and ignite your purpose. Hey, y'all. I'm your host, Davone'a Tashae, resilience coach, speaker, and advocate for your internal glow up. Here on this show, we dive deep into real conversations. So let's embark on this journey together. But before we get started, I need you to grab your pen, journal, and potentially a Kleenex, because you don't know what's going to come out, okay, during these here episodes and conversations. But I do want you to know this thing here, and that is through faith, focus, and courage, you can and you will transform your life. Just be patient with yourself. Welcome to the show. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to the Conscious Courage podcast. I am your host, Davone'a Tashae, and if you're here for the first time, hey, this podcast is all about our internal glow up. So that's our mental health, our emotional well-being, as well as our mindset and our spiritual well-being. On today's episode, however, we are going to discuss the anxiety surrounded around money, retirement, and whether we are truly doing enough to build wealth for the long run. So we've coined this episode as the hidden stress of wealth. Will I have enough to retire? Calling all go-getters out there. What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Davone'a Tashae, and I'm interested in learning, do you want to become a 5-star executive administrative assistant or even a program manager? Well, I have the course for you, y'all. I'm taking over a decade of military as well as private sector experience in the world of program management and executive assisting, putting it in a course and delivering it to you. I can't guarantee you a job, but I can guarantee you top performer and that you are going to stand out. You hear me? To learn more about this course, visit www.davoneatashae.com or going to www.davoneatashae.com and submitting an inquiry on the site. While you're there, if you're interested in learning more about me or how you can become a guest on this podcast, or I join your podcast, you invite me over to speak, you know what I'm saying? Then you can also use that same site. I look forward to speaking to you continuously. Walk in the blessings that are honored to you, and take care. I'll talk to you later. Who can enlighten us is the special guest that you see here on the screen, Miss Keturah Suggs. Yeah. And her background, she is a dynamic speaker, a change agent, and mission-driven investor committed to building generational wealth and justice in underserved communities. With over a decade of experience managing affordable housing development across New York City, okay, she has led projects totaling over $1 billion in development costs and 4,200 units, positively impacting more than 5,000 families. Growing up in the Bronzeville projects, Ms. Keturah experienced the effects of systematic disinvestment firsthand, y'all. She now channels that experience into advocacy, community planning, and economic development, including her role in the Brownsville Works initiative. She holds a master's in urban planning as well as a BA. Her master's is from Hunter College and her BA is from, is it SUNY Geneseo?
SUNY Geneseo.
Oh, there we go. SUNY Geneseo.
Geneseo.
Geneseo. That one right there. Now, y'all, she brings a personal and professional wisdom to the table, and she understands that building wealth isn't just about stacking up our cash. It's about peace of mind, emotional resilience, and understanding your why. So, without further ado, we are going to jump on into this episode. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for such a grand introduction. My. Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you've done. Okay. Kudos to you. Glory to God.
Yes,
It's
praise the
yours.
Lord. Praise the
Yes.
Lord.
Is
Give
there
me the
anything?
Lord.
Yes, ma'am. Anything that you would like to add that I did not cover before we get on into our discussion?
No, I think you covered it all. You covered it all. You got everything.
Oh, good.
Everything. You
Oh,
didn't
well,
miss
thank
anything.
you. So this episode is going to be broken down like into four different segments or four topics. Just really want to pull from your wisdom, ma'am. And getting on into the first section is the silent anxiety around wealth. I know I'm not the only one that experiences it. Like I'll write down my plan. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm getting after. And then out of nowhere, I'm procrastinating. Like, what's going on? Do I really believe what it is that I want to get after? So one question is, why do you think so many people, especially in their 30s, 40s, 50s, may feel so anxious around wealth and retirement?
Yes, no, I for sure. Great question, excellent question. I think one of the major reasons that people feel, anxiety around, myself included, back in when I was in graduate school, I, as you said, have a master's degree in urban planning. So when I was in, graduate school, we had to do a capstone project, right? We worked with a community board, and that was sort of our thesis project. Well, while I was doing that project, I was like, I need to learn how to make money. And I was like, that's the one thing that communities lack. I realized really early on is when you're doing community work, whatever that may be, you need money. Someone has to provide money. Whether you're a nonprofit, you need money. Whether
Yes.
you work, in the city, you're looking for elected officials to provide you money. Somebody has to bring money to the table. And I said, I don't know anything about money. And so, right when I graduated with my master's, I went and got a job at a bank. Right? People ask me like,
Okay.
"How the heck do you end up at a bank?" Right? With a background in urban planning, it was because I said I didn't know anything about money, and I was starting to experience that anxiety. I was like, "What? Like how I need to learn. I have to understand how money works." And so, working for a bank, I started to realize
Mm,
I worked for a trust bank. And so it was at that time I was like, okay, there's a lot to it than just, depending on sort of external sources for money. And so I think a lot of times there's so much um, anxiety or some stress around it is because there is, most times people's financial plan is hope, and hope can't be a financial plan. Now I believe it. You have to have hope, and you got to have faith. However, that is not a financial plan, right? You need guarantees, and I think we just been taught in this world that you have to invest. What you do, you have to invest and save. And so saving is like the crux of it. It's the foundation, right? And the way I teach my clients is, you build wealth, making sure that your foundation is set, and that's through properly structured whole life insurance. And I think, for me, that relieves a lot of the stress because it's guaranteed, right? And then anything I do is on top of it, whether it's investing in real estate, um, you know, or investing in a business, whatever that might be. But I think most people, we overcomplicate it, myself included, right? I was like, what the heck? I don't know anything about money, but it's really simple. It's really straightforward. If you buy more you buy more assets than the liabilities, you'll be wealthy. And the question is, how do you do it? Most times we chasing returns. It's like very sexy. We want it to be, but it's really not. It's simple. So
yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people, it's just, they may have this stress around it, this anxiousness around it, because and fear, because you just don't know. And that's what happens when you are chasing a return, or you looking to vehicles that are like it's market driven mostly. And I think that's one of the issues that we face. Why so many people are like anxious around when it comes to money.
And what I'm hearing is knowledge, right? You have to go out
Hmm.
there and you have to educate yourself. And then also, you mentioned assets over liabilities. And maybe those listening, maybe not everyone has an understanding or background over an asset vice liability. You want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so an asset is anything that brings you wealth, and the liability is any expense that drives you to poverty.
Taking it away.
And so, yeah, so assets. So if you stack up more assets than you do liabilities, you'll become wealthy. It's just, it's really. That's like that's straightforward. But yeah, any asset brings money into your pockets. Liabilities, take away, bring you to poverty.
Yes, there we go. Yes, yes, that's good. Now, what emotional baggage would you say impacts how people view wealth? So, could it be, for some examples, like childhood poverty, scarcity mindset? That's a good one. I was going to say
Yeah.
fear. You already actually addressed that one, and that's big too.
Yes, so I would say so. Yeah, for sure. Your environment, your neighborhood, those things play a part, right? For myself, I grew up, when you introduced me, I grew up in Brownsville Projects, right? Brownsville, Brooklyn, very rough area, and
Mm,
so I learned really early on that if I wanted to make a change, I knew innately like this wasn't my life, and I desired more, right? That's just how God wired me. It's really by his grace that when you're young, you take it for granted, like, oh, I'm here. But living in or growing up in a underserved community, I learned very quickly that thriving neighborhoods are the byproduct of people met with opportunity. And
mm,
so I think when I was growing up, I knew money. I had like a money, when it came to money, I thought in terms of scarcity, right? I thought it was limited, which money is in and of itself a finite resource, but there was scarcity around it. Like, just and then when you grow up in a poverty stricken environment where, you know, giving is not the way, right? You take in order to
mm.
get, right? And so that also has an impact as well. Or, and then you see it when I grew up, right? I knew money wasn't like in an abundance, right?
Okay.
Um, just yeah, my older brother just, you know, growing up, he was like, I need to become an entrepreneur. He became a street entrepreneur, right?
Okay.
Um,
Read between the
yes,
lines.
right. Yes. He was a street entrepreneur, and so yeah, I knew that money. Like when I was younger, I definitely that played a role growing up in my environment, right? It was at that time it drove me to say, okay, I need to learn about money. I didn't come from money. I need to learn more about it. But for sure, your environment will play a role. It played a role, at least for me, just growing in the neighborhood that I grew up in.
Yeah. I think it's so good how you can have people grow up in the same neighborhood, but they go in two different ways. So for you, it was actually encouraging. Well, one, you had someone that you see making it happen and have that entrepreneur spirit about himself. So you pulled a little bit from that and you knew, like, hey, there's more out there. There's greater out there. As you said, God wired you to be that way. But then you have those that kind of get stuck in that box where it's like, well, now they haven't seen it, so they don't think that they can achieve it. And so now they're using the B word, very, very bad word. Well, I'm broke, or I'm not to make it to whatever the case may be. And it's like you don't have to remain in that scenario or in that situation or in that environment. You just gotta break free. There's a quote out there from Muhammad Ali, and he says, the man who thinks the same at 50 as he did as 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. And even that scarcity mindset is like you're 50 years old, but still thinking about the time when you had to dig out of the trash can to eat, and thus you're not allowing yourself to really bloom and grow. So hopefully, if somebody's watching this and you are going through a stage in life where on the inside, for whatever reason, you just have a thought that there's a little bit of more, there is, and you can receive it no matter where you started off from. And another tidbit
Amen.
I want to go into before we change subjects, or excuse me, switch on into the second half of the conversation, is that sometimes the fear isn't just about not having enough, it is about not knowing how to even begin. And for many of us, our relationship with money is deeply rooted in trauma or generational patterns. With that being said, go back and listen to this if you did not take the note, and listen to the nuggets that Miss Keturah dropped as it pertains to how we're thinking about money and going out there and educating yourself and putting yourself in those environments where you can learn, as she did, like working at a bank. Segment two is, what does wealth really mean? Okay, so what does wealth really mean to you, and is it purely financial?
No, it's not. It's not financial. Wealth means to me. wealth is spiritual, right? And I learned that on my journey. Like I committed, so in 2022, I set out on my real estate journey. Well, for the second time, right? I started investing in real estate in 2008. Came back into the market in 2020, and so I made a declaration that I will, acquire 2 million. Right? I'll be my net worth will be worth 1 million,
Yeah.
and I'll have 1 million in cash, right? And so the
Mhm.
moment I declared that, and I believed it in my gut, and I still believe it, right? I'm in pursuit of that. The moment I made that declaration, things got spiritual, right?
Mm,
And I must say, for me, wealth is Deuteronomy 8:18. It starts with God. It starts with, for me, it's my God given purpose, and so, which is why I always focus on it. My whole entire life, I did things that at the time, even before I knew God, what I always did with what I was passionate about. So
yeah.
now that's how he led me. It was through my passions. I don't know any other way. That's just how I'm wired, right? I don't do things that I'm not passionate about. If I'm not passionate about it, I'm not gonna do it. And so now knowing what I know now, right? Wealth is really operating in your purpose, operating in your gifts, right? And having the knowledge, right? So whatever you're gifted in, becoming knowledgeable in that area, and then living it out, and then the wealth will come. So for me, I think of wealth. I think that's just how and the natural state of what my life is, right? And I always say, I always believe this. I always stand on it. I always tell people, I don't have money is never a problem. Like whatever you're trying to start a business, invest in real estate, whatever it is, money's never the issue. I always say money is waiting there. It's waiting on me to figure out whatever my purpose is, or whatever the goal is,
Mm,
whatever challenge I need to overcome to be prepared for the money. Because and that's why
mm,
for me money is super spiritual, for that very reason, because I understand that when God said it's because of me, I teach you how to get wealth. It starts with him. It starts with the creator. And so he created me. He gave me gifts and talents and abilities.
yeah.
Therefore, when I'm living in that and using my gifts for his glory, wealth
Yeah.
comes, period. Right. And so that's how I see wealth. It's always spiritual. And for me, money is not the end all be all. It's a
Mm,
tool, and it takes on the life of its possessor. And so if you don't, we have to learn how to master money and not let it master us. And so for me, wealth is completely spiritual. So,
yeah. Oh, I like it. Now you dropped out there Deuteronomy 8 and 18. I want to read it for the people in case they don't go grab their Bible for themselves. So we're gonna
okay.
provide it for you. Deuteronomy 8 and 18 in the King James Version reads, "But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore unto thy fathers, as it is this day." Go ahead, gifts. Go ahead, tool. Go ahead and use it. I did a small segment. I want to say it was episodes 45 through 47, or maybe 44 through 47. And it was about wealth, but it was wealth in our spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and then our, I don't remember number five. So go out there and find it, y'all. But at the end of the day, wealth is more than money. Maybe number five was money. Now, what are the first few steps that someone anxious about retirement or building wealth should take?
So the first step, I was just share my story. So for
Okay.
me, one have to be decided, right? I was decided. It's
Mm,
2022. I just had my daughter. She was 3 months years old, and we had to come back to work, right? Working in the office. I was
mm,
like, this is not the life for me. And in that moment, I made a decision that my financial situation won't be the same. And provided I wasn't in a like situation, but I was just making a declaration that I needed to be wealthy, meaning I have, cash flow coming in. So I just made a
mm,
decision in 2022 that this is it. I'm not going to have to depend on a job, right? I don't want to have to depend on my 9 to 5. And so when I made that declaration, went out, got information, got in the room, and got back into real estate and all the things. And then while I was on that journey, because I took a step, I decided I invested in myself, partook in a real estate mastermind, got more information. But it was while I was there, I discovered infinite banking, right? And so for me, I read all the books. For those who don't know, just read the book, Become Your Own Banker. That's the source, that's where it started. And so for me, that completely changed everything. That changed the game because
Mhm.
it helped me understand money is truly a tool, and how to implement a strategy that has guarantees, right? And so infinite banking is not a product in and of itself, but I learned how to use whole life insurance, right, properly structured. And so I read all the books, Becoming Your Own Banker. I did all the things, got the knowledge, opened my policy, and it started from there. Just understanding that for the first time, just the first investment was into myself. I decided that I will be wealthy, took the
Yeah.
steps to invest in my knowledge, right? At the time on the path of real estate, joined the mastermind. But as I was taking steps, other things opened up, and I learned about infinite banking. And I said, oh my gosh, this is what I was looking for my whole entire life. Because as I said before, while I was at the bank, I was learning about all types of products. I worked for a trust bank, right? That's nobody but God, right? Would have it that I was also working in alternative investments, learning about every kind of strategy that hedge funds were using. I was booking the trades for BlackRock and PIMCO and all these large institutions, and just learning about literally structure. And then I went on and you know worked in affordable housing. But all of that to say, the first step is just be decided. The second step is to get knowledge, and the third step, I would recommend everybody, look for when you're looking to retire, you have to understand that you need guarantees, right? You need a solid foundation. It's like when you build a house. You start with a strong foundation, and then you frame up the house. You put the roof on and all the things, but you have to have a strong foundation. You just don't go out and you don't build a house on soft sand, right? You build it on a strong foundation. And for me, retirement planning is that strong foundation is whole life, properly structured whole life insurance. And so, and it's not this or that. It's both, right? You do, for me, that is the core, it's everything. I run everything through my infinite bank. And I invest in real estate, right? I do flips.
Okay.
Um, and so for me, that is what I'm invested in, what I know. I'll also branch off and to do some other things with options and things like that. But if you want to start with oh, my thing stopped. If you want to start with a retirement plan, I would go, I said it again, just be decided, get more information, get in the room, and get in the right room. Don't just get in a room just to get in the room. Just be sure that you're in the right room and get connected with individuals and get the information. And so for me, like I said, the strong foundation in any retirement plan, not that whole life insurance is a retirement product, but
Yeah.
it's the foundation, the key to everything that I'm doing. So
Good. So in there, I'm hearing real estate and I'm hearing insurance, whole life
yes.
insurance. If y'all ain't catching it, catch it. Okay. So sometimes we obsess over our retirement numbers, but we never ask, what kind of life do I want to be living at that point? Will I still be emotionally whole and will I be at peace? So, some scriptures for y'all. Proverbs 13:22. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. I love that one. Philippians 4, verses 6 through 7, but just real short. It starts with, do not be anxious about anything, and then go and read the rest, right? But in everything that we do, through prayer and supplication, make our requests be made known to who? Him up there. All right. So go and read those,
Amen.
and may that scripture be an edification to your spirit. Now, we touched on this, but I'm going to add a little spin to it. So we've already letting that truck pass by.
Oh,
So we've gone into breaking the poverty mindset a little bit. Now, can we add on to that building confidence? So breaking the poverty mindset, but building confidence. So how do you help your clients shift from that poverty mindset to one of like possibility and preparation?
I would say the major mindset or poverty or just mindset shift in general
Mhm.
is learning how money works. When I show them how money truly works, and what I mean by that is when I introduce the infinite banking concept, breaking down like how wealthy people make money, right? How banks make money, right? Understanding leverage, appropriate leverage in your money, understanding that wealth is built Some people use, good debt. It's the difference between good and bad debt. And I think
Yeah.
one of the biggest shifts of all time is that you can be the banker for your family, right? And I think most people, we're not taught that, right? You either, you have you're three people in the banking equation: the saver, the borrower, and the banker, saver, and borrower, right? And so it's usually, we're typically like two of the three, like the saver or the borrower, but never the banker. And I think once I introduced
Mhm.
the concept to them that you can be the banker, you can control your family's bank, that is a mind that in of itself takes a whole lot of like mindset shift, because
Yeah.
more times we're not taught like you can operate and make build wealth the way banks do it for so many centuries, right? And
Mhm.
so I think that is the first and foremost, the mindset shift, because we're just not conditioned. We're taught to, very standard financial advice: put your money in 401k, max it out. To all the things like lock our money up, send our money to jail for 20, 30 years, and then let the government tell you how to take your money, right? You can have, and let them dictate to you when you could take it out, when you could use it. And then if you don't take it out, you're gonna pay penalties. That's just where we live, right? And I think for me, when I heard it, it was a mindset shift, but just sharing it with clients, it's just that in and of itself is just like, it's just mind blowing when they understand that you control this process, right? You don't, no one's telling you how to use the money, when to take it. It's up to you. You decide that. So I think that's the
Mhm.
first step.
That's
Oh, the
good. All I
first.
keep hearing. Oh,
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm gonna say like the thread is knowledge. I think like it's not just education, and educating yourself outside of the school system. All right, just saying
Correct.
that.
Well, yeah, you know for sure. Because I mean, this is not taught in school. Like I said, if you notice my journey, I read books. I read like all the books about wealth, right? And yeah, it was not something I learned in the classroom, unfortunately. Um, they just don't teach that in school because a wise man always said, my pastor says, you have to, if you don't understand the purpose of a thing, abuse is inevitable. And so the purpose of school was not to enlighten us, right? The purpose of school was to produce workers. And so knowing that school is not, it's actually fulfilling its purpose. It's not there to enlighten you, it's not there to educate you. It's there to whip out, workers for, that's what it's always been. And so if you want to really build wealth, you can't, in my estimation and just my observation, what I learned, if I want to build wealth, I cannot follow the mainstream school of thought. There's two schools of thought. Like if you want to remain, for lack of a better word, poor, or if you want to build wealth, there's two different paths and there's two different schools of thoughts accordingly. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and it starts with a book or getting a mentor, something outside of
Mhm.
the traditional education system. So,
That's good.
yeah,
And poor, y'all, we mean it could be poor in spirit, it can be poor in finances, it can
yes,
be poor in thinking, something along those lines. Okay, y'all, we not calling
yeah,
anybody poor. You can move in that way, okay? If the shoe fit.
yes.
So that
Listen,
was really good. Oh, what did you say?
I was wearing a shoe. You listen,
Oh,
that's what I said. Yeah,
it
poor
was
is
fine.
not, poverty is not just, I mean, yes, a physical place, but I wore the shoe because my mindset wore it. I was there mentally, right? So,
Yes. That is so good. Our fourth segment here is about some practical steps toward peaceful wealth, y'all. So, three practical steps you can get clear. So, make peace with where you are right now and write down everything: your debts, your income, your goals. And then, knowledge cancels fear. And you've heard that really throughout this conversation. And then, get covered. So, look into the life insurance, a will, and building generational protection for yourself. Your third step is getting started. You don't have to have it all figured out, but buy that first property, open the IRA, take the course, just start off and begin. Now, is there anything that you want to add? We want to discuss any more topics around whole life insurance or even real estate, your fix and flipping journey, or anything before we close
yeah.
on off out?
Yes. So I
Okay.
would say, no, so this is a very important discussion, but I would say that just to add, you the oh just want to underscore, just stress that you just have to get started. It's not going to be easy for sure. Like flipping a property or doing anything for the first time, starting a trust,
Mm,
um insurance whatever that might be, it is not going to be easy in the beginning. It's not going to feel easy, and nothing great comes from comfort zones, right? You have to push yourself, and you have to be willing to do it.
that's
So
so good.
it's nothing. Some people like, comfort zone, that's okay, but when you really trying to change the narrative for your family, build legacy, excuse me, it takes, you have to step out there. You have, sometimes you have to do it. You got to step out on the skinny branch, right? And like go for it. So, and just because something is hard doesn't mean it's not the way. It's just hard in
Mm,
the beginning. It's like when you go to the gym, you've been out of shape. Of course, lifting weights is like, it's gonna feel like very strenuous, and then the more you go, it gets easier, because it's not that the weights change, it's just that you get stronger, you can lift more. And it's the same thing
mhm.
in real estate. And for me, like I said before, like just being decided and then taking a step, and then the path open up. When I decided to get back into real estate in 2022, I didn't know that I'd be, helping people or teaching people how to build wealth using property structure insurance. I had no clue about that. I didn't set out and say, hey, I'm gonna be doing. I had no clue that that would be the vehicle in which I will fulfill my purpose, right? And so I would encourage anyone, just take the step, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you feel God is calling you to do, whatever that may be, that thing that just get at you, that some a dream you put to the side. Just take the next step. Ask yourself, what do I need to do to bring this to fruition? What's the next step? Whether that's, just doing research or asking someone, just take the step. And then when you take the step, the path opens up. So that's what happened with me.
That no, that's so good. And as you were saying, not to be comfortable, I thought about Genesis chapter 12, verse 1, and this is God calls Abraham. But chapter 12, verse 1 reads, Now the Lord said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred or family and from thy father's house unto a land that I will shew you, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. But imagine if Abram was complacent, if he was comfortable, if he didn't take out and move away from everything that he knew and every familiar family member, friend, etc., etc., we would not have seen Abram go to Abraham. So just in that, in everything that comes from Father Abraham. So don't get complacent. Don't be comfortable. Yeah, that was
Amen.
so good. Yeah, that's real good. So with that being said, where can the people find you, follow you, join your community, learn more about this private life insurance or whole life insurance? I'm like, what am I trying to say? Or even fix and flipping real estate, everything that you have to offer the world, all your gifts.
Yes. Yes, all the gifts, all my gifts. So you can find me. I'm on Instagram, focus underscore K. Also, yeah, on Instagram. You can find me. I have banker talks every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's like a wealth club. We talk all things money. We normalizing wealth conversations, having these very same conversations every week. And what else? You can find me on, but yeah, Instagram, and on my website, KeturahSuggs.com.
Not on my website.
Yeah.
So much
Yes.
going on, baby. She was like, wait, what else? And what else? So good, so
Yes.
good.
But
Now,
IG, directly, you'll be able to IG and Linktree as well. So, but
y'all,
yes, you can find me there.
you can find her. She out here. Google her.
Yes.
In short, Google. Now,
Yes.
thank y'all. Before I say my conclusion, I want to hear from you all in the comment section. Let us know, what was your favorite talking point? What were your nuggets, or what nuggets would you have added? What did you take away from here? And not just here on YouTube, but also make sure that you comment in the comment section on Instagram, on TikTok. If you are new here but you enjoyed this conversation, go ahead and subscribe, please. And thank you. This conversation, I would say, is so needed. If anxiety around money has been holding you hostage, let this be your reminder that you are not too late and you are not alone. Peace doesn't come from how you make it, it comes from knowing where you are going. So thank you again, Ms. Keturah. Thank you for all of the wisdom, your transparency as well. And hopefully we'll have you back, okay, sooner than later.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all, yes, subscribe again if you haven't already. Share this video, this episode with 2, 3, 5 family members, 30 if you will. But anyone that you know needs some financial peace, also follow us at CC Podcast with DT on YouTube, all social media, Instagram, as well as TikTok. And you can find us on Facebook for more on your faith, your emotional wellness, and then wealth in the internal way. Until next time, y'all, take care and be blessed. Peace.
Disclaimer: as a content creator with a background in psychology and ongoing studies, it's imperative that I note and clarify that I am not a licensed professional. The videos and podcasts I produce are intended for educational, entertainment, and transformational purposes only. While I strive to provide accurate information and insights, it's essential to consult with a licensed mental health clinician or a licensed mental health professional for clinical perspectives and personalized advice tailored to your specific needs. Your mental well being is of the utmost importance to me, and seeking guidance from a qualified provider is encouraged for any concerns or issues that you may be experiencing.